Welcome and good evening to the Fatal Vision podcast. It is January 8th, 2026. This is James McGinnis coming to you from Massachusetts. And up in here, we've got Billy Liddon in New York. How the hell are you doing, buddy?
Just happy to be here, James.
Glory to God.
Amen. Amen. So we're back. Even after our last one, we can't let
No.
that much time pass anymore. We had a whole month off over the holidays. You remember the holidays?
The holidays, yeah. Everyone's always talking about the holidays, right? Holidays this, holidays that.
Yeah.
I'm more like Pruitt and Kearns this. Article 32 that. That's what most people should be talking about, in my opinion. And so I'm glad all that's behind us and we can get back to staying focused on what really matters.
Which is reading all of Fatal Vision and talking about Fatal Vision, thinking about Fatal Vision.
Thinking about Fatal Vision,
yeah.
Telling people about Fatal Vision, having dreams about Fatal Vision, which I did in the last week twice.
Today at work, I was walking around with a copy of a book called One Day by Gene Weingarten.
Oh, it's one of our heroes, by the way. If you're new to the podcast, look him up.
There's an interview we did with him, but he's a former writer for the Washington Post who did a great feature piece on the evidentiary hearing, Jeffrey MacDonald evidentiary hearing, 2012. And I mean, how many words is that piece? Like 5,000 or something?
It's incredible, and it's one of the most definitive interviews of Brian Murtaugh outside of Fatal Vision itself.
Until we get one.
Until we get one. I just got to get the courage to ask. Because,
Brian, if you're listening. Okay, but I was walking around work today with that book. My coworker, Chuck, came up to me and was like, hey, man, he used to write for the Washington Post. And I said, yes.
Are you kidding? He actually knew who he was.
Yeah. Chuck's
your boy
very
Chuck?
well-read.
I mean, being well-read is one thing, but knowing a name that is part of the canon of MacDonald authors is rare.
So then I tried to play it cool, and he said, there were some really famous pieces he wrote. And I said, well, there's the one he wrote about the famous violinist playing in the subway and everybody just walking by and ignoring him.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, there's also one he wrote about the Jeffrey MacDonald murder. In Fort Bragg. He's like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, do you want me to send you any of them? He's like, yeah, send me the other one.
Violinist. Yeah, send it. Yeah, it took a lot of guts to ask for permission to send him things.
So I sent him both.
Yeah, that took a lot of guts.
Yeah. I'm a courageous guy.
Yeah, I'll tell you a story. You are way more courageous than me, which is why you are not the sidekick. You are the driving force, the catalyst of change in this entire world.
Well, somebody did call me your sidekick.
Actually, our most prolific commenter on YouTube did.
But he said I'm funny. He's like, I love James's sidekick.
I don't even know if that wasn't a reference to a bit we were doing about how people were erasing you in their praise, like James, your podcast, blah blah blah, James. I think we did a couple riffs on that, and River Truth might have been just. But
then one of the main perpetrators of that came back around and apologized, wrote us a long thing.
They did. She did.
And we owe her. She asked us to do some videos where we dissect some of the audio.
Oh, the audio recordings.
So, hey,
God, and
we're gonna be doing that for you.
We will. It's a promise. And I was just going to tell another.
I don't expect anyone to know who I am, though. I don't expect any. I'm not here for the acclaim. But if people want to,
we only use my real name and not a fake name because people might think that I have something to do with the author of Fatal Vision, and I do. So it's just purely an economic marketing cynical ploy to put my name out there, and obviously it's worked to tremendous success. But I was going to say that I was sitting in my cubicle at work. I don't know how long ago this was, a few months ago, and this woman came up and said, "Hey, I heard that your father was an author. And I was like,
Why
yeah.
was
I
she
said, well,
talking like that?
I don't know. That's just how sometimes people talk. Or maybe it's just an affected way of, approaching a touchy subject. I don't know. She's
Okay.
like, I heard something. I heard something interesting about you. And your father was an author. What's that about? You didn't tell us. And I was like, oh, okay, here's the thing. And if you're interested, I don't know, there's this podcast. I was like, morally indefensible. Maybe I'll send it to you. Start there. And and then the lady who's sitting next to me was like, oh, well, she actually was just sort of kept a very flat affect, and the person who had approached me was like, well, Roxanne next to you, she's a big reader too, It's like, oh, maybe I'll bring and Roxanne didn't show any interest at all. And she said she remembered the TV movie, didn't say anything positive about it, so I was like, okay, I'm feeling like I would just. So then I brought in 2 copies of the paperback to work, and they were on my desk for until December 18th, and then we got a memo that they were going to move. Everyone had to get all their personal items off their desks because they were going to do cleaning or move everything. So I just took them home. I was going to give them to each of those 2 people as like, you expressed some interest in my father, so here's a book, read it. And then I just never got around to it, and then I think this is actually probably one of them that I was gonna. Yeah, so that's back at home now. So that's just the gutless, craven me, just having a chance to minister to the flock and just totally listening to Satan and just caving in and being a total whiny little sniveling eel. For those of you listening, he's placed his entire head in his hands in anger and disgust. So that's just a story. That's an anecdote for you. I think I've been through it too many times, Billy.
Yeah.
Like you went through that, to just go through it again, especially with people that I have to look at every day. And especially with my new boss, who, I don't know, was like, I know the case. I remember it. He's like, that's how old I am. I remember the TV movie. And then he said, I'll listen to your podcast. I'll listen to the whole thing on my drive to New Jersey today. And I never heard a single follow-up about any of that. It's never been acknowledged since. So, just kind of chilling. Just we referred to this in our last episode that even Billy's own mother laughed at the idea that this is a thing or that anybody listens. So it's really hard to explain it to outsiders. And I'm sick of trying. I fucking hate outsiders at this point.
Whoa. Profanity, man. There's somebody in the comments.
It's an explicit podcast. And we're editing this all out anyways, right? That's one of our running. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I recently was informed because I once we press upload, I don't look at it again. I don't think about it again.
That's like me. It's like Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
That was the song I was writing then. That's over now. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Done.
got nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
But somebody did recently tell me
Okay.
that apparently the cuts that we have been calling for months have not been made, and so there are all these moments in the pod where we're saying, oh, we're going to cut that, and it's out there in the world.
So all the production dialogue is getting through, like the stuff with Corey. I guess Corey's just in our ears, so he's not actually making it into the broadcast, but that's distressing to hear. But and I'm horrified at that. I really am. I'm sorry to hear that. I don't know what else to say about it. I guess.
But we know that our people are there now. They are ready. Last week when we published, somebody this was interesting, actually. Somebody commented, like, the second it went up, saying, we need more content.
It was a negative comment within post more stuff. Yeah, and I guess it's kind of a bait and switch, right? I mean, there was a while there where I was neglecting every other responsibility in my life and going through. I might as well show it to everybody so they can see where are all the goodies coming from that I've been posting. Well, look, it's all in here. That's I call it an SSD, and I was obsessed. I was just cutting and posting and cutting and posting and cutting and posting, and I guess I got everybody used to that kind of cadence of new posts. And first of all, the hottest stuff we ripped through it fastest, and we're taking our time on the back end now. So that's all there is to say, other than we have like 4 or 5 new recordings to post up, but it's just it will happen. And I'm so sorry to the guy who was complaining to us at 2 a.m. last week.
I'm grateful to him because he's the reason
He
we're
cares.
back here right now.
He's the reason we're right here now.
So we're gonna finish this chapter.
Oh yeah. That's right. Yeah,
we're gonna finish the chapter. We got some other things cooking.
You gotta.
As the sidekick, I've been made privy to the plans.
Oh well, maybe we should tell them a little bit about the plan now.
Well, that's why I just mentioned it. Yeah,
it'll probably end up in the description. So once we conclude our recording here, the 2026 conversation, we're going to attach a never before released interview of Janet Malcolm in prison with Jeffrey MacDonald discussing the Dick Cavett appearance, because that's going to come up again in tonight's reading. We'll then post the entire 90-minute new recording that we received recently of that interview for anybody interested, and I think anybody out there would be. But yeah, that'll be right here. If you're on the Apple Podcast or the Spotify, you just stay right on. Keep listening, let the record play, and then it'll come on after we wrap up.
Yep. So we've got that ready for you, and I won't get too much into it, but if you out there have wondered about the full transcripts from the Voice of Jeff tapes, there may be something in your future.
It's cooking.
So just stay tuned for that.
You know what? We might as well just come out and say it.
Okay, sorry.
No, I mean, it's in the future, but we have the entire thing. It's an annotated 600-page PDF of all of the tapes Jeffrey MacDonald made between 79 and 81 for my dad, that comprised the Voice of Jeff chapters. And so obviously, the book wasn't 600 pages of that. A lot was cut out. So we were working on a document that'll be the whole thing, unabridged.
Yep.
But there's just a ton of cleanup that has to be done because the copy we received has someone's annotations on it. So there's just a lot of handwriting and crossing out and question marks. I think it came from MacDonald's lawyer or something. I think we got MacDonald's copy. So there's a lot of angry handwriting on the margins that we have to erase and try to decipher what we crossed out. So we're doing some back-breaking labor trying to get that ready for you.
I haven't slept.
No, I don't generally sleep at all. But
so we're working on that for you, and that will come with new essays.
Yeah,
by James and me, respectively, where we offer some analysis, some
merch, special gifts, special prizes.
Well, the merch will not be included in the PDF.
No, that's separate. It's a separate purchase. But you know, the things are happening left and right. I tell you, man, it's
We'll
unbelievable.
put this to the crowd. I mean,
Yeah.
if you guys out there have any,
Yeah. Why don't you weigh in on about this? If you've made it this far, 15 minutes in.
yeah, okay.
What?
Like, you just screamed. You just kind of screamed at them.
I thought it was all part of the act, but
No, I'm not. I am not
yeah.
criticizing it. There's no
All right.
act. This is
No,
who
there's
we
no
are.
act. It's just this is yeah. We don't have any control over how this comes out.
Yeah. Any merch ideas from the crowd? Just put it out there. T-shirts, Fatal Vision Pod. You know.
Oh yeah, stickers. We're talking about stickers first. Rolling that out first. 25-cent stickers. You know, you can put it on a phone booth maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want the cookbook, because Jeff talks about food a lot. If you want the cookbook, you can work on that.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. That's right. Hey. Any news? I will tell you some breaking news about MacDonald, which isn't breaking news, but the Wikipedia page for Jeffrey MacDonald still says he's incarcerated in Maryland. So anybody out there who wants to try their hand at a Wikipedia edit, I've already been blocked. My IP has been jammed. I can't touch that page. I think I'm actually got a restraining order. So I can't. You don't look at me. But if you want to go on Wikipedia and say that it's actually, as of 2025, in FCI Butner, and you can use the source of the Bureau of Prisons website as a source, that'd be awesome. Any change to Wikipedia boosts the case's profile and all the algorithms, and the algorithm is what we are fighting against tooth and nail all day, every day.
Yeah. You know what I'm waiting for? Eventually, somebody listening on YouTube is going to do one of those like timestamp things that people like leave in the comments.
Oh, someone has been doing that on some of the archival stuff, but like there was one commenter who she would just with no notes, but just like 10 minutes, and then like just like posted 3 different things.
What I anticipate is somebody will be like 20-minute mark, the reading of the book begins.
Oh yeah, just total shade thrown comment, and then it'll be like, yeah, I mean, yeah, that'll be good. That'll be good. Just getting dragged. Yeah.
I gotta say, not a lot from the MacDonald camp lately. So
yeah, they've been quiet.
Been good. That's been good. There was
They've
that
been
one
very
guy
quiet.
the one guy kept accusing you of making all this money.
Well, no, he said that there was the only reason I was trying to get the case back in the news was because I stood to benefit financially.
Yeah, so true.
It's like, wow, that's quite the. Oh, it was not a guy. We don't know who it was, but they posted all day, every day, and I was in a hotel for a work conference, and I saw they posted something like really mean and nasty, and I was like, oh, I have the power to block them and just hide them from the channel, and I did, and that was one person, and they tried to make a comeback. Remember, they like made a different name and tried their hand at another negative comment. It was funny. Anyways, this is all very inside baseball, I guess, but
yeah, but
that's something we've been living with.
Yeah, we're in a conversation with.
Well, I was telling
larger community.
another new friend we made about who said that this was the only reason that he was able to acknowledge publicly that he is obsessed with this case, because we made it cool.
Yeah, I met him too.
Yeah, so that was wonderful feedback to get. And I did share with him my little story about being online in the 90s and as a 13-year-old and running into the This is when the MacDonald camp was powerful on the internet.
Yeah, why don't you share the story?
Oh, I've told it before, but well, anyway, I think I was obviously a young kid. I thought I was older. I told them. I went on there. I was like, I'm Joe McGinnis's son, and that's not true. And I got catfished, I guess is the word. They didn't have that word back then. This is 98. And I said I was 16, so this, that's totally okay. They didn't know what they were doing. But this person from the MacDonald camp sent me a picture like, hey, I'm this 34-year-old blonde bombshell from Louisiana, and I just want to chat with you. We don't have to talk about the case. And then they just sort of there was sort of like I don't know, like a month of grooming, and then they just were like, "This is what your dad admitted under oath in 1987. You have to atone for this right now and admit the truth." And I was like, I hadn't even read Fatal Vision. I didn't know. It was so I guess in my tradition I blocked her or him. I'm assuming it was Lucia Bartoli because she was kind of running the show back then, but I have no idea who it was. But it was her. It was whoever that person was, and then there was also a man named Logan from the MacDonald Defense League who was sending me emails. He was like begging me. He's like, I know this is the hardest thing you'll ever do, but I need you to confront your father in the other room. I need you to go in there and tell and confront him with the truth about what he did to Jeff. Like, it's the most important thing you'll ever do.
So you heard it here.
Yeah.
MacDonald defenders would go into chat rooms, try to make contact with teenage children of Joe McGinnis.
I said I was 16,
which is
So
teenage.
it is still minor.
Yeah.
It's just I don't want anyone to think that they knowingly were harassing
Attacking
a 13-year-old. Yeah, because like a 16-year-old, well, that's old enough to drive at least. But
yeah, that does change things a bit.
Just change things. What? It was my fault for lying about my age, I guess.
Yeah.
I wish I saved all that stuff. I mean, we could play that game all day about everything we wish we'd saved related to the case.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
The one thing we get about April 6th, April 6th, April 6th, April 6th, April 6th. Hey, have you ever thought about uploading the April 6th interview? I mean, it's like, I don't know, however many years before the podcast was even an idea, we were just like, oh, if only someday we could hear April 6th, but Billy and I would just be texting each other. Can you imagine hearing the real thing? So yeah, that's like the existential question of like, will we die having not heard it?
Yeah.
And what do you think? What does your intuition tell you? What does your faith tell you? The communion of saints and all that.
I think we're gonna get it.
We're gonna get it. I think it's a matter of. I think we're gonna get it. So let's just let that. We'll let it go. We'll just turn it over.
All right, let's read this.
Let's read it. Let's. As always, I'll lead us into this.
23, about 23:30.
Yeah.
Timestamp.
Yeah. For the timestamper, just feel free to throw it out there. It'll be a layup. You'll just rake up the dopamine hits from getting likes. Anyway, we're bringing this back into Kassab's perspective as we wrap up the chapter. Kassab being Freddy. The last section was Mildred remembering Jeffrey sitting in her kitchen eating pie and drinking coffee and coming up with a story on the spot about what the man he murdered said about the female intruder being Willie the Witch.
Willie the Witch. Oh, should we? Hey, hold up the book. We'll have our little.
Oh yeah, wait. We also learned that when podcast posts. So this is going to be the one we're going to do for like a like the. Are we going to do the actual like pretend we're shocked moment?
What? Oh my God. Look
Okay,
at that.
perfect.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. All right. So that'll be this one we screenshot. And I'm sorry if you're sitting on the the traditional podcast ways. You didn't get a visual there. You should probably consider yourself lucky. I caught a glimpse there. It was not good for me. I didn't look at Billy.
You never look at me, man.
No, it's all one way street.
Okay.
All right, so you can actually lead us into this then.
What's the first word of the reading?
The first word of the reading is Freddy.
Freddy Kassab did not appear?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm ready to go in.
All right.
Freddy Kassab did not appear on network television in December, but he did travel to Washington with 2 bulging suitcases that contained 500 copies of his 11-page letter to members of Congress. He had decided it would be more effective to deliver them in person instead of mailing them. For 4 days, he trudged through the halls of the House and Senate office buildings, hand-delivering a copy to every office, a Willie Loman peddling his plea for justice. Often, he would get only as far as the front desk. Occasionally, an administrative assistant would spend a few minutes with him. Everybody was sympathetic. Nobody promised a thing. He returned home, worn and weary, on the night of December 15th. He turned on the television. He saw Jeffrey MacDonald on the Dick Cavett show. He was infuriated by MacDonald's performance.
First of all, who's Willie Loman? Is that Frank Capra movie? Is that the...
Let's do a quick... God, people are gonna... I hear your mic stand rattling a little bit.
I thought that was yours. Is it mine?
It's yours, yeah. Yeah, I hear it right now.
Oh, no. All right. It's not stable.
Oh, yeah. Protagonist of Death of a Salesman.
Oh, Arthur Miller.
Yeah.
Oh, I've never read it.
Maybe
anyway.
we'll do a reading of that sometime.
Yeah, The Crucible, yeah.
Given an opportunity on network television to reach within minutes, millions. I'm going to start that one over.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking about the fact that we've already seen the Cavett scene, so Joe doesn't get into like, let me show you Freddy. Let me show you Freddy on the couch watching it and getting upset. He just delivers the information. He was infuriated by MacDonald's performance.
Yeah, because that was the conclusion of part 2.
Right.
Was
so
Cavett.
It's a performance that we already know was really crazy.
Yeah.
Given an opportunity on network television to reach within minutes millions of the constituents of the political figures Kassab had spent 4 days vainly attempting to see, and to demand through that medium that the killers of his wife and daughters be pursued, MacDonald instead had focused almost solely on the injustices that had been done to him. So Joe here showing us Freddy walking through the halls of Congress, desperate for anything.
Yeah, I mean, we actually heard this is in that full audio of the MacDonald. I killed them all, or I killed I killed one down. I'm gonna kill 3 more. Call.
You almost conflated it with Robert Durst.
I did.
Yeah.
More about that later, but what I was going to say was that in the other, they were talking about other things. Freddy was talking about, he was preparing for this trip. He was describing it to Jeff in their other conversation where Jeff was like, "Hey, did you wait a minute? Did you hear that part earlier?" Freddy's like, I just had it all printed. It's going to fit it in these suitcases, and it cost me $300. And Jeff's like, $300? That's a lot of money. Right. So you're not really feeling Jeff's, and you can sort of see the the widening gap of the enthusiasm gap.
Equally galling was his playing off the audience for laughs. Amusement had passed from the lives of Freddy and Mildred Kassab 10 months before, and it seemed to them profoundly inappropriate that the aftermath of February 17th should be presented by Jeffrey MacDonald as entertainment. Perhaps most troubling, however, although it did not at the time seem to have the significance that it would later acquire, had been MacDonald's assertion that he had sustained 23 wounds in the attack, in the implication that he himself had almost died.
Both Freddy and Mildred Kassab had seen Jeffrey MacDonald at Womack Hospital on the afternoon of February 17th. There wasn't so much as a Band-Aid on him, Mildred recalled. Not even mercurochrome. I don't know what that is. Is that a... It's like a... Probably something that's gone generic since then. Freddy Kassab had returned to the hospital that evening and had found MacDonald sitting up in bed and eating dinner with apparent enjoyment. That always really galls me. Mm-hmm. The idea of MacDonald sitting up just like, delicious. Perhaps the Kassabs told one another it was simply a lingering sense of defensiveness, the result of the false accusation that had made their former son-in-law so grossly exaggerate the extent of his own injuries. Not included in the text, but they also had made excuses for him and to each other about why he was lying about not having an ice pick during the initial investigation, which is like, oh, of course, why would you give them an inch? They're accusing you of something. Don't admit to having an ice pick so it's one of those things like they're doing what you would do. You would come up with reasons why it's okay for the suspicious acts to be popping up. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Kassab called MacDonald the day after the Cavett appearance. He informed him of his displeasure. At the same time, he renewed his insistence upon access to a copy of the transcript. Now that he was out of the army, there was no plausible reason for MacDonald to object. Though he himself, in the wake of the story he had told them, seemed increasingly reluctant to be in the presence of the Kassabs, MacDonald had his mother deliver a copy of the transcript. She arrived bearing 13 manila-bound volumes on Christmas Eve. She said, however, that they could only keep the transcript for a week. Then Jeff would need it back in order to prepare the lawsuit he was planning to file against the Army. Wow, so litigious. I'll do two more. Oh, it's three more, actually. Sorry, three more. The Kassabs read in silence throughout Christmas Day. It was their first Christmas together without Colette. The transcript was the only gift they had received. They read quickly. There was much to absorb.
Can we just pause on that?
Yeah,
I mean, that line, the transcript was the only gift they had received.
Yeah. What do we think
Joe.
of that? Yeah, powerful.
Yeah, you can keep going. I just wanted to point
out.
What a great line that was.
Okay. I do think it was powerful. They read quickly. There was much to absorb, a great deal of it obscured by legal wrangling. Eventually, through the verbiage, the picture began to come into focus. The transcript provided the Kassabs with their first glimpse of the murder scene, their first close-up view of Colette's torn and battered body awash in blood on the bedroom floor. Their first look through the eyes of military policemen, doctors, and investigators at the damage that had been inflicted upon Kimberly and Kristen. It was also their first exposure to Jeff MacDonald's detailed account of what had occurred. Pausing only to try to sleep, or when tears so blurred their vision that they could no longer distinguish the words on the page, the Kassabs read until New Year's Day. So overwhelmed were they by the horror, so numbed by the excruciating detail, that they gave no thought whatsoever to analysis.
There was, however, one point that Freddy Kassab did find puzzling. It was MacDonald's statement that for more than 6 weeks he had slept with a pistol under his pillow because he so feared for his life. Kassab recalled the detailed account in Newsday of MacDonald's contemplation of suicide. The exposed pipes, the chip paint, the logistics of trying to hang oneself with one's own belt, the conclusion that the attempt would be likely to end in failure. Why, wondered Freddy Kassab, if a man was lying in bed with a pistol under his pillow, would he be so concerned about whether or not he would be able to take his own life with his belt? Kassab returned the transcript to MacDonald. He wrote to the Army, asking for a copy for himself. Familiar by now with Kassab's outspokenness and tenaciousness, the Army agreed to supply him with one if MacDonald would sign an authorization. MacDonald signed. Again, there was no plausible reason to refuse. Kassab received a copy in February. The same week, he also received a visit from 2 CID investigators. In December... Oh, go ahead.
I'm just saying, enter Pruitt and Kearns. I think that's how Joe set it up. He's doing a lot of transitioning. We did Cavett, got the transcript, moving right into, and now we're moving into their origin story. Mm-hmm. Colonel Pruitt and Kearns. Anyways, continue. I'm sorry, just adding my commentary.
No, that's part of what we're bringing, man. That's part of the magic.
Yes.
In December, in response to congressional inquiries prompted by Kassab's hand-delivered letter and by MacDonald's nationally televised accusations, the CID command in Washington had begun an internal investigation to determine the extent to which the Fort Bragg CID and laboratory technicians at Fort Gordon had been guilty of dereliction of duty. The conclusion reached, as expressed in a letter sent to members of Congress by the Army's Chief of Legislative Liaison, was that while the investigation had not been a model of its kind, neither had it been the amalgamation of incompetence, perjury, and malicious prosecution which Mr. Kassab envisioned. On January 19, 1971, Colonel Jack Pruitt, the CID's Director of Internal Affairs, was instructed to shift his attention to the murders themselves. He was given office space in the federal building in downtown Fayetteville. A task force of 8 agents was assigned to him under the supervision of Warrant Officer Peter Kearns. He was told to take as much time as he needed. He was told all necessary resources would be available. He was told he was expected to be thorough. He was told also that it was expected that his investigation would produce evidence sufficient to bring about the indictment of the killer or killers of Colette, Kimberly, and Kristen MacDonald. Pruitt and Kearns came to Long Island on February 11th to inform Freddy Kassab that the new investigation had begun. At the same time, they informed him that his son-in-law was still considered a suspect. What an ending.
Well, amazing.
Boom. Boom. How do you stop there? I mean, we have to.
We have to. That's
on the
restrictions
on the craft level. On the craft level. Boom.
I just thought it was a brilliant ending. I mean,
boom.
You can go into the we're not gonna we're gonna go into how MacDonald I think they even call. I think Freddy calls him and says, "Hey, these guys are here. They say you're a suspect," and he just like races from Manhattan to confront them. Um, he really didn't have very long of being off the hook, right? I mean, the Rock Report in MacDonald camp lore is so, they act like it was this definitive exculpatory document that he lived under its bright shining light for so long, free from any suspicion.
It never exonerated him.
No, it wasn't even the army didn't even give it as, it wasn't even, first of all, it wasn't their official decision, and it was, it was submitted for review, but it was released in November. And he's being told he's a suspect again in February. Still a suspect.
Right.
So there's that. So I don't think Fred. I think probably by the time it's February, Freddy's doubts are starting to appear. I guess Joe showed us that with his being struck by the contradiction in what MacDonald had said. This is what Freddy is so good at, is a master of, and this is what he went on to do with. He would just reread MacDonald's testimony from the Article 32 hearing, and he would just compare it with everyone else's testimony and make notes every single time there was an inconsistency of every other person. He was reread MacDonald's and check it with everyone else's. And it sounds like it started off, he was reading it, and then just from memory, remembering that crazy interview MacDonald gave in July before the hearing was even over.
Yep.
Which I think we can get to you. We'll put it up on the Facebook group at least. I have a scan of it. I've never read the whole thing, so that should be a delight to revisit. But yeah, so that's where we are. I don't know.
I can't wait for the next one. I can't wait. I can't.
Me too. Yeah, no,
wait
we're just getting charged up now. It's really kicking into gear. I think we hit a lot of good notes tonight. Really did. We wrapped up chapter 2 or chapter 1 of part 3 over three episodes. So very thorough data points. Anything we missed, you think?
No, I don't think so.
Nothing coming to mind?
I can't wait to watch Freddy figure it out.
Me too. What do we think about Freddy's trip to Washington?
I mean,
what does it say to you about going to every single person in person?
That there's no limit to his love.
None. Bottomless.
He'll do whatever he has to do.
He did. And that was just... that was the tip of the iceberg. So, I guess we'll leave it there.
Yeah. Wow, man. Awesome. Yeah, shorter meeting tonight, but we're gonna be back. We're gonna be back at you very, very soon.
Yeah. We're not making up for lost time here.
Yeah.
So we're with you. We're with you every day, and thanks for staying with us. And we'll stay on the line. We'll be posting that recording in the same file, and let us know in the comments. Like, subscribe. You know what to do.
And if nobody told you they love you today, we
do.
And there's
not a goddamn thing you can do about it. All right. Amen. Good night. God bless.
Oh, sorry.
I just remember something that Jeffrey Elliott and Roy Shedlake were talking about, and that was the Dick Cavett show, which they both saw as a kind of crucial kind of turning point in things going badly for you. They thought that was tactical error on your part.
I think in retrospect, it seems to have been, and I say that only because of what the other side is saying. The other side is saying that that was one of the burrs under the saddle, as it were, to really force the reinvestigation.
That Kassab then, seeing you on that show.
Oh, that's false. That is false. The segment you just moved into is different than what you started out saying, because that is absolutely false information.
I see.
That is not true.
Well, I'd like to know about that.
Okay, that is totally false. That is another one of these legends in the case, as I always refer to them now. It is absolutely groundless. It is false information. Kassab knew exactly what was going on. I talked to him once or twice that day. I talked to him the next day. He was pleased as punch. He said, "You really socked it to him." He was totally involved in that. That Dick Cavett show was set up by three people: Bernie Siegel, Aled Lowenstein, and Freddy Kassab. That's who set that up. There was, Kassab acts now like he turned on the TV and suddenly there's MacDonald on the TV. Freddy was totally involved in that. I was in New Hope, Pennsylvania, trying to maintain my sanity by going on runs and building a swing for Danny, who they now accuse me of abusing. Okay? I mean, I was doing a very normal post-tragedy thing. I was trying to recover. Okay? I was with people who were nice, people who liked me, who accepted me for me. I didn't have to answer questions to anyone, and I was trying to recover. Every day off from my New York job, I go out to New Hope and spend it with the Stearns. Okay? And Kassab and Lowenstein and Bernie, as a combination, they all didn't have the same viewpoint, but Aled Lowenstein set it up with Kassab's full knowledge, not only acquiescence, but assistance. I then called Bernie Siegel. I hope he remembers this. I don't know if he does remember this. I never talked this, in all these years, I'd never once said this to Bernie, so he may have a total blank, and you may think, there's no corroboration for what Jeff said. But my memory is that I called Bernie, and Bernie was, I think, still in Philadelphia. I'm not sure. I think he was still in Philadelphia or on his way to the West Coast. And he said, "Look, I know you're down, and I know that you'd really rather go shoot baskets at the gym with Danny or something like that." He said, but he said, "This is really important. You can take your shots here." He said, "You can get the word out that you are a normal human being and that you're a good doctor." And those things are important to me.
Yeah.
And I was angry at the Army. There's no question. It wasn't even really the Army. It was more Ivory Shawn Rebner. And, it was more focused on exactly what did happen. I think I was pretty clear, as a matter of fact. It wasn't a general rage at the Army or government or the United States. It was specifically about what happened to me. Okay, there was some investigation that morning in the first 2 hours, and by then we knew that. Okay? So I said, "Look, Bernie, this was post Aled Lowenstein episode where he and I were already beginning to pull away." Okay, that's another story if you want to hear it. But we were already beginning to separate and go different ways. And he said, "But this thing is the kind of important thing. You can take a shot once or twice, and then basically you can say no to Freddy for this craziness, this coming into your job site and wanting to take you to lunch and have drinks there." And I said, "Freddy, I'm a physician. I don't drink at lunchtime." Where you had 5 or 6 or 7 heavy martinis, and by the end of that, "Let's go to North Carolina next week." And I'd say, "No, I'm not going to North Carolina next weekend." So this was already building at the exact same time. All this stuff was happening simultaneously. So I called Bernie, and he says, "You should go through with this." He said, "This is the big thing." He says, "Plus, Lowenstein set it up. And when a congressman goes out on a limb for something like that, you'd rather." As a matter of fact, Lowenstein and I even had a call, and he said, "Jeff, don't back out of this." He said,
Lowenstein set it up with Cavett.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know who personally made the phone call, but the 3 people who were deeply involved and who eventually got to me were Kassab, Lowenstein, and Siegel. Okay, now Kassab already didn't like Siegel too much, so I doubt if this was Kassab talking to Bernie. It was Kassab and me, Kassab and Lowenstein and I, and Bernie and I. And maybe Bernie called Lowenstein, but I doubt it even. They were both very frenetic creatures, and they're not the kind of people who connect quickly on the phone. It was always 10 calls to get Bernie and 20 calls to get Lowenstein. type thing. So the message I got loud and clear was, this is a great chance to really strike out and say, look, that was all wrong, okay? And it was a chance to force a reinvestigation, which we at that point naively believe would be done by the FBI, okay? Now we're told in Joe's book, and from interviews that the prosecutors in my case have given newspapers, that that night or the next day, CID people in Washington put new investigators on the case.
I see.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But Kassab's version now is like my wounds. It's the same exactly. It is exactly the same thing as the wounds. The facts at that time were very clear. We were friendly. He was happy that I was going on Dick Cavett. He was glad that I took pot shots. And that was our attitude. Our attitude was, you know, you don't like it, tough. Go reinvestigate the case and look at the truth. You know, and we were trying to say, look, this man was wrongly accused. He didn't do those horrible things. He's a grieving, normal, decent human being. That's what we were trying to get out, that message, so I could go practice medicine and rebuild a life without facing this in whispers the rest of my life. Yeah. Bernie's theory was that there was always a necessity to get out what we consider to be the real view, because I have to live a life, and so does my family, so does my mom, you know, everyone around us, and that it was a legitimate thing to do. It wasn't a lust for publicity. It never was that. Yeah. That was not what that was. And I did not want to go on Dick Cavett. That's what's so weird about all this. God, when I read that segment in the book, it was like, holy good night, how can you do this? Because the facts were fairly clear. One of the first people I talked to was my mom. And she says, you know what the terror, she was saying to me, you know what the terror in my heart is, my mom's heart. You know what the terror is to me? And I said, no. She says, your nervous smile. She says, McGinnis is so clever that what he has done is taken something that he knows, and everyone who knows you know, is that you do have this nervous smile, and you always look comfortable. You always look like you're doing great. You know, people would say to me for years, God, it's amazing how you get to this, how you got to the grand jury, and how you got to this. Amazing how you look. It's third week in trial. And inside I'd be saying, you know, screw you. I'm the one not sleeping. Yeah. I'm the one with the night wiz, but I have this capacity to always look reasonably okay. So my mom said to me after this whole thing came out in the book, she said to me, the terror in her was that McGinnis is so clever that he could even take things like a nervous smile and turn it into a whole different thing that it wasn't at all. What I'm telling you is Truman Capote was on the next day, and Cavett said something like, gee, we had the most remarkable thing happen last night or yesterday on the show. And Truman Capote said, oh, yes, he said, but of course you know he's guilty. And apparently Dick Cavett got defensive. He said, wait a second. That's not something maybe you should be saying on national TV. You know, the guy was just cleared. And apparently the first we heard of it was we got a telegram from the Dick Cavett producer that night at my mom's address. It was a telegram from them the next morning saying, please call us immediately, you know, we want to talk to you directly. Don't do anything reckless. Don't, you know, basically don't call your attorneys. So they called us. Excuse me. I think there's a mold or a dust in these vending systems, and when they turn them on sometimes, we all start wheezing and get the little swollen eyes and stuff for a while, and they had it on last night. So I'm clearing again. Excuse me. To make a long story short, I think I had a local lawyer in my hometown, Patchogue, who was helping me on little stuff after the discharge from the Army, because Bernie was too far away and too busy all the time, basically. But, you know, he was a friend who was helping out. And between he and Bernie, they said, look, we shouldn't let this go by. At least you deserve an apology. And this is when I was trying to work and try to stay out of New Hope and try to stay away from the Kassabs and Long Island and going to the grades and stuff like that. I says, look, I really don't even care about that. You know, who cares what Truman Capote said? Yeah. To make a long story short, it's one of these long stories, which is not worth telling, I eventually drive in on another day, 2 weeks later, to the Dick Cavett show for the sole purpose of getting an in-person apology from Truman Capote.
He was there personally, and
He was there personally.
and he said, "I'm sorry."
Yeah. He pulls up in his limousine. He has two playmates more than bodyguards. These very Germanic-looking blondes with blonde eyebrows and everything. He was very drunk. He was really actually very gross. Phil Rogers, the attorney, was with me, and he said, most marvelous story, engaging. I said, yeah, but you said on TV that I was guilty. I said, that's why we're here. He said, oh, a mere slip of the tongue, and his two people with him were laughing. I said, well, it's not exactly that. And, meet Mr. Phil Rogers. He's one of my attorneys. And he looked and wouldn't shake his hand, And he was drunk as all get out. And he said, oh, you can't be bothered by things like that. He said, surely there'll be a great book, and the story will be told, and you'll be fine. And he said, if I can ever be of help, he said, I, of course, wouldn't be interested in writing such a sordid story. But that's exactly how he was talking. And it was very repulsive. Quite honestly, Phil Rogers and I felt really weird when we left. Yeah, we were regular people, lay people to the industry. And there is this strange seductiveness of being called by Dick Cavett or the producer or saying, come into New York and Truman Capote has to apologize to you. We can't let this stand. It's not the kind of thing we want to hear about six months from now. So I said, Bernie, this is crazy. I don't want to drive into New York to see Truman Capote. He said, need the apology. So I drove in. And, he has this fish soft hand, and he shakes my hand, refuses to shake Phil Rogers' hand, and tells me it was a sordid story, and of course he wouldn't be interested in ever telling it, but someone will, and that way your story will really get out. And don't worry what about it he said on TV. He really didn't mean it. And I looked at Phil, and Phil said, well, it's, I guess, an apology. It's sort of his apology. And I said, okay, thank you very much, and we left. But we both were driving out to Long Island that night. I was staying at my mom's, and we felt terrible. We felt sleazy.